So Keith, I've had my vaccination, so I'm okay with my vaccination, right?
Maybe not.
Well, okay, I've had COVID. So that's a natural immunity, correct?
Yes, but maybe not good enough.
So you're saying I still need to support my immune system?
Yes, definitely.
Well, if you guys will hang out with us for a little bit, I think you'll learn a little. So it's my understanding, whether you've had the vaccine or you've created what they would call a natural immunity by having the virus, you still need to support your immune system. So
Right.
what's the case and why is that, Keith?
Well, this virus is extremely contagious and everybody's going to get it. So whether it be the virus or the vaccine, everybody's going to get it. And then how our body responds is extremely important. And so some people have more challenges. Some people, it's just, they don't even know that they're sick. Then there's a few that have significant issues.
Well, so what's the most important things we need to be thinking about as individuals?
Okay, so supporting the immune system, there's some lifestyle issues that we need to address. So we have to get the sleep. We need to get 7 to 8 hours of sleep every day. We do need to exercise, so breathing is very important, and also that's an or de-stressor. And then we have to be careful about what we eat, and so excess carbohydrates, especially sweets. So we're talking about sweetened drinks and desserts, for example, definitely weaken the immune system. So we have to be very careful about those.
Rats.
Yes, I know. So we do have to be very careful. This is a challenging time, and we do have to say, okay, I'm going to suck it up. I'm going to do it. So this is it. And then there's a group of basic supplements that also support the immune system that our body has to have. Now, I mentioned my vitamin D receptor doesn't work, but I still take it because there's some other activities. But vitamin D, one of these products, vitamin D does help the immune system. Vitamin D literally attaches to part of our immune system so that those cells work right. So we all have to have it and take that. And we have to have a blood test. There's information on our blog about that blood test. Optimal levels are about 50 or 60 on that. And then the other thing that we have to have is actually zinc. Most of the population in the United States are deficient in zinc. If you don't eat meat or oysters, matter of fact, many of us don't eat oysters every day, where most of us are deficient in zinc. Zinc is critical. It is required for the immune system to work properly. And actually in these studies, even the medical studies showing that zinc even helps keep the virus from attaching to the cells and keeps it from replicating as much. So that's the goal. I mean, once again, everybody's going to be exposed to it. Everybody's going to get it. We just want to keep it from being bad. So zinc does help the body to fight infections. And then also, there's some herbal things that help out too. So one of those most important is probably quercetin that's in this. This has two different types of quercetin. And when they do, they start off with computer modeling to see what drugs and herbal type products have antiviral properties against COVID specifically. And quercetin kept coming up time and time and time again as interfering with this process of the spike attaching to the cells and replication. And so this particular product, actually, we recommend it for allergies. We call it Allernyl. We've been selling it for years, but now we've kind of repurposed it, as they're doing with a few drugs too. We're finding out that it also has some antiviral properties. And so, and then a probiotic. So most of the immune system comes from the gut. And there's studies showing that in senior adults, and also some other studies in Europe from children that take a probiotic on a regular basis, have a reduced risk of pneumonia from flu. Now that's different than the COVID, but it's still a virus infection. And even flu can be very serious for a few people. So it's amazing, 65% reduction in the risk for the flu in senior citizens that take a probiotic. So these are kind of like the core basic type things. I recommend like 1 a day of the zinc, 2 a day of the allergy product that we're repurposing, and then 1 to 2 a day of the D3, depending on your blood test, and 1 a day of the probiotic.
Well, interesting. So one of the things that's been interesting over the years too, as we've seen through our career, is that pharma companies have done some really interesting things over the years, and they made us a 1 pill a day society. That's our mentality.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Now you have 4 different supplements that we're recommending here. So why can't we just get this all in one happy tablet?
That would be nice. Yeah, we're always talking about that. How can we combine things? And and part of it actually is going to be a synergistic effect. Like, for example, I mentioned my vitamin D receptor doesn't work. So if I were to just take this, it's not going to work right. Things aren't going to work right. And so if we add 2 things, we get more like an additive effect. If we add 3 things, we're getting a synergistic. That means it's much, much, much better effect. If we add in probiotic, eating right, exercise, sleep, we get a synergistic effect, much better response.
So we're seeing more of a multiplication of response versus an addition of response. So that's interesting. So let's say we support our immune system and we still have symptoms that show up. So that can happen.
Definitely.
And it's just the way it happens, especially with these variants that are coming out. What do we do then?
Well, we want to ramp up the dose. And so, these lower doses are just kind of like gentle support for the immune system. But we actually can, like on the zinc, we'll go easily, 1 capsule, 2, and up to 4 times a day if we get major signs and symptoms. We know that we have a virus infection. We'll ramp it up and even do 4 a day for a few days, 3-4 days. And the Allernyl will do 1 capsule 4 times a day. The vitamin D3, actually there's studies showing they're giving multiple high dose injections in the hospital. So we'll actually go with like 5 capsules twice a day. So we want to go very high dose for about 3 or 4 days.
Okay.
Get the blood level up. Most of us aren't spending time out in the sunshine. We're not getting our vitamin D. We're not getting the 25 to 30,000 units a day because we're not in our Speedo swimsuit outside. So we've got to take high doses of this for a few days, ramp that immune system. And I usually just stay with 1 a day of the probiotic. If by chance a person does have some digestive issues like loose stools or constipation, we may bump that up to 2 a day. That means their gut isn't quite right. Their immune system may not be quite right. So we want that synergistic high dose effect.
Okay, well, great. So if we go beyond that, we said, are there still some concerns to think about? What would be the next step beyond that?
Okay, so if we start having problems with chest congestion and coughing and fever, we do want to ramp it up another step. And part of that whole process is actually the body's response. We get what they call the cytokine or cytokine storm, which is an inflammatory blood clotting issue. So we do have things that we use for that. And this is a product that contains N-acetylcysteine and curcumin, and that helps with that inflammation cytokine storm that decreases some of the blood clots that affects any part of or several parts of our body. And then the N-acetylcysteine also helps to thin out congestion, nasal, sinus, lung congestion, repairs the body, every cell in our body. So we will actually go with this, like 2 capsules twice a day. And then we'll go with a herbal product like Viracite or Viracite, and to kind of ramp up the immune system, kind of make it work. I kind of reserve this. This is actually similar to some Chinese studies. They use these kind of medications in their herbal type things to ramp up their immune system. They actually make it into a soup and drink it. Well, we got it in a capsule. Doesn't taste bad.
Well, fantastic.
The soup.
Well, that's very interesting, because what we've learned, I think, over the past short period of time is that we have to be aggressive. We have to make sure our immune system is supported as best we can.
Right.
Well, Keith, as always, thank you so much for your time and your expertise on this, filtering
My
through all the information. For those of us, it just is so helpful for us.
Sure.
And thank you for spending time with us with the Flourish Feel Better Faster blog. We hope it's been beneficial for you, and we look forward to seeing you next time.